Welcome Chessbox Worldwide. We are diving straight into a Ugandan mega clash from the competitive Premier Bet National League featuring two titans of the East African chess. Holding the white pieces is FIDE master Walter Okas of the CNHS club. He proudly represented Uganda in two chess Olympiads, that is 2018 and in 2022. And he's not just a former national junior champion, but also a dedicated administrator who upholds the game's integrity as a member of the FIDE Fair Play Commission. Playing black is candidate master Egesa Emmanuel from the dominant Caro-Kann chess club. Egesa, a national team player himself, is riding high after his victory at the 2024 Som Open Easter Chess Championship. Known for his deep opening preparation, is also a passionate coach and instructor. FM Okas, known for his solid system openings, deployed the flexible King's Indian attack, setting the stage for a strategic grind. But in this battle of experience versus recent form, which player will come out on top? Welcome to the center of African chess. Get ready as we dissect this game move by move. Don't forget, please go ahead, like, subscribe and comment to support the channel. And in the white pieces, FM Okas Walter played knight f3 with a d5 from Egesa Emmanuel, g3 introducing us the King's Indian attack, c5, c4 trying to create an open diagonal for the bishop, d4, and after bishop g2, knight c6, short castling, e5 trying to dominate the center, d3 stopping the e5, bishop comes to d6, e3 challenging the center, knight comes to e7, e takes d4, e takes d4, knight g5 intending to bring the knight on e4, bishop f4, knight comes to e4 to be supported by knight on d2, short castling from Egesa, knight b2, b6, and after knight takes d6, queen takes d6, knight e4 hitting on the queen. Emma went on and played queen g6, but however queen d7 should have been considered, followed by rook e1, and then we could see moves like h6, stopping any knight intrusions, either knight or bishop coming in. But he played queen g6, bishop f4, rook comes to d8, f3, bishop g4 should have been considered, followed by queen e1, and then h6. But he played rook d7, and we see rook comes to e1, h6, queen f4 should have been considered. He played queen d2, bishop comes to e6, b4, expanding on the queen side, c takes b4, a takes b4, rook d8, we see b5 hitting on the knight, knight f5. Okas went on and played knight c5, but however a simple rook takes f5 followed by pawn takes rook, knight c5 hitting on the rook and the bishop, which is on e6. And when you look at all these squares, they have been covered and the rook has no way of survival. In case of queen coming to f5, rook comes into e5, hitting on the queen instantly. After queen f6, knight takes rook can be played, but even knight comes to e4, for example. After knight comes to e4, queen g6, then queen takes f5. This is a dominating position for white. But however, after knight f5, Okas played knight c5, knight takes c4, d takes c4, pawn takes c5. In this position, Okas went on and played bishop c6, but however, bishop e4 should have been considered, followed by bishop f5 and rook a6. We said now rook is sitting on the queen, the bishop has pinned down. This is a dominating position for white. After pawn takes c5, he played bishop c6, pawn d3 should have been considered, but he played bishop takes c4, bishop takes d7, rook takes d7, queen c1 should have been considered, but he played rook c1 instead, hitting on the bishop, which is on c4, bishop takes b5, rook takes c5, and now we see s6, cementing the bishop on the b5 square. h4 should have been considered, followed by queen b6, but he played rook comes to e5, queen f6, h4, knight g6 should have been considered, but he played king h7, h5, cutting off the knight from stepping on g6, d3 from Egesa, queen comes to e3, hitting on the knight which is sitting on e7, knight c6, hitting on the rook, queen e4 check, g6, rook e8, taking control of the last rank, queen f5, pawn takes g6. After queen takes g6, Okas went on and played queen e3, but however, rook h8 check should have been considered, sacrificing the rook. And in the case of king takes h8, we could see queen e8 check, checking the king and also picking the rook which is sitting on d7, and this would be a dominating position for Okas. But however, after queen takes g6, he played queen e3, and Emma played d2, rook comes to d1. Emma went on and played queen c2, but however, rook d3 was dominating the position. In case of queen e4, then we could see knight d4, and I can tell you Emma will be dominating the position. But however, after rook d1, he played queen c2, and now we see rook takes d2, queen c1 check, king comes to h2, rook d4 should have been considered. For example, after rook d4, you could have seen rook f8, hitting on the pawn which is on f7, bishop comes to c4, defending the pawn, trying to take control of the d5 square, and threatening checkmate in 1. After king h2, Emma went on and played rook takes d2, and we see queen e4 check, king g7. In this position, bishop e5 should have been considered. For example, after bishop e5 check, we could have seen knight takes e5, queen takes e5 check, and after f6, queen e7 check, king goes to g6, rook g8 check, and after king f5, g4 check. After king comes to f4, queen e3 would be checkmate. But however, after king g7, Walter played bishop takes h6, and now we see king takes h6, queen f4 check, and after king g7, we could see queen coming in to check the king, king h7, queen g8, and after king h6, Walter is dominating the position, queen takes f7, threatening all the nasty checks on the board. And I can tell you, all of them are winning for Okas. In this position, Emma tried rook takes f2, and after queen takes f2, we see queen f1. And in this position, Walter Okas played another super move. He played rook e6 check. And after king h7, he played queen takes f1. Now the bishop is going to be taking the queen, and the rook is going to be winning the knight, which is sitting on c6. And after bishop takes f1, we see rook takes c6. Bishop comes to e2, king goes to h3, trying to support the g4 push, and after king g7, g4, f5, it was in this position, after move 49, that candidate master Egesa Emmanuel resigned the game. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your games.